Hey guys, welcome into the video. For today's, I thought it would be fun if we did a sort of dark fairy castle type of vibe. It's not super castle-y, but I thought it would be cute. I just recently got the Enchanted By Nature pack, and I haven't actually built with anything, so this was the first one that I wanted to do. I'm honestly pretty proud of it. I think the landscaping turned out really cute, but I built it on the lot that's like on the tree in Innisgreen. But anyways, let's get right into the video. So I kind of just started trying to figure out what sort of layout I wanted to do. I wasn't completely sure what I was trying to do here, but I kind of just started throwing stuff down and we would see what would happen. I kept like bumping things out and changing my mind. But I was going for at least a little bit of a castle vibe, especially with the little tower up there, but I wanted it to be kind of like pointy, a little spooky, but not super spooky. I wasn't going for like vampire house. I was going just for like a fairy house, but maybe a little bit of like an evil fairy house, if that makes sense. And then I thought I wanted it to be like super castle-y with those fences up there, but it was not the vibes. It was more like, I guess I was going for more cottage vibes rather than full castle vibes. But anyways, the roof was honestly not as bad as it normally is. I think it turned out okay, but I definitely was struggling like how pointed to make them because I was like moving around those little things. And then I decided to add another little bump out over on the side because I felt like it was a little flat over there, which I honestly probably should have added one in the back, because going back to it, it is very flat in the back and nothing is happening. I kind of forgot to go back and do anything with that. But as I was going, I didn't really know what color scheme I was going for, and then I put these columns down and I found this purple, and oh my god, I fell in love with it. It's so pretty. So then the entire house turned purple. And this freaking butterfly door is gorgeous, so I wanted to throw that in there. Also, excuse the lighting. This lot doesn't have the best lighting, and I didn't really think about the lighting until like halfway through building. But either way, I ended up turning that bump out on the side into like more of a little sunroom type thing. I thought that would be cute, and that way you could use like the little glass walls. I say everything's new now, but now Adventure Awaits is coming out, and it's not as new as I thought it was. But, and then I ended up with a little like moss foundation on the bottom, because I was really trying to go for like an overgrown look, which you will definitely see later, because I went a little overboard with plants and things. But then I realized that the back was really flat, and I wanted it a little bit more like off by itself from the little tower that I have there. But when I did that, the roof got all messed up, so I had to make the whole thing a little bit smaller. I think in the end, it probably could have stood to be a little bit bigger, but honestly, the fact that it's so small makes it really cute, because then it just feels a little bit more like cramped and cottagey, which I think is what I was going for. But yeah, and then I was trying to figure out what roof to do, and I was trying to figure out if I wanted to use the new like plant one, but I don't think that was it. And the purple stuff is absolutely amazing. And you can see I was definitely struggling with what I wanted to do with the wallpaper. I went through so many options, but in the end, I think it turned out pretty cute, and the layout for the wallpaper is nice. Sorry, I'm going to be real honest. I am very new to Speedbuild and the voiceover part of it, so excuse me if there's blank spots where I'm not talking or it's a little weird. But I still was trying to figure out what to do with the fencing. I liked the plants up at the top, but I thought it was a little bit too much to do it on the bottom as well. So I just left it with the, like, other fence that's in Enchanted by Nature. And then I kind of just threw windows all over the tower, which to some people it might look a little weird, but I think it added to it. And I think it's what it needed to have just like a little bit more of dimension than something going on with it. I was also trying to figure out all of the window placements, which I probably should have gone back and added some more on the sides. But I kind of, you'll see, but I went a little overboard inside, so there wasn't really a ton of room for windows. And then I think at this point I go in and start adding like the floor plan and stuff, which this whole build is only Enchanted by Nature, the base game, and then I think I used a little bit from Cottage Living and then Realm of Magic, but honestly that chandelier that's right there probably could be switched out with like the little like twig flower chandelier. I just wanted something bigger that was like hanging down since it was in that top of the tower, because I got rid of the floor on the highest floor of the tower so that it kind of dropped all the way through. And then later you'll see, but I ended up putting like a little reading nook there. And at this point now I'm trying to figure out the floor plan, which don't come for me. I definitely but I definitely forgot to put a bathroom. But I do end up going back and I'll fix it, and there's gonna be a bathroom upstairs. But it will end up being more of like a lofted bedroom, and then there's the little kitchen downstairs with the dining room and the living room, and everything's pretty cramped, but I think it works out for it. I think it gives more of like the little fairy vibes, and a little like cottage in the woods, which I don't even know, would this lot constitute as a cottage in the woods if it's literally on a tree? I genuinely have no idea. But I started putting some lights down because I couldn't see. But I started with the kitchen, and I kind of just put the cabinets everywhere, but then I figured I wanted the little like apothecary table somewhere. So I walled it off just a little bit from the stairs and then turned this side into more of like that little apothecary center. And then the rest of it is like the full kitchen, which I don't think turned out too bad, honestly. But as you can see, I go back and forth with a bunch of different things, and I make a bunch of different decisions before I go back and change it. But I did put that little apothecary table there, and I thought it turned out cute. And I know this sink is a little bit more like bathroom sink, but I thought it fit in well. And then it added just a little bit more with like the shelving down at the bottom, and then I added some cabinets above so that it wasn't quite so empty over there. And that's where I used most of the Cottage Living, because I didn't want just like a regular fridge and stuff like that, because I figured that would be weird. And then I was trying to lay out the rest of it. I knew I wanted the dining table like in the little sunroom area, because I didn't really know what else to put there. I thought I was doing something with the two different types of chairs, but later I'll go back and change it because I used the stools somewhere else. I also was kind of just going through the entire catalog of Enchanted by Nature, just to see what I wanted to use, because as I said, this was the first build I ever did with it. So I didn't know all of the items that were in there. But this pack is honestly, it's really cute. I haven't played much with fairies themselves, but the build style is adorable. And then for the living room, it's a little different than what I normally do. My living rooms are usually a little bit more like on the grid, but I kind of just threw the couch down because I didn't want it to be like closed off and pointing the fireplace, but I kind of wanted it moved around, and then I found this little moss rug, and I just kind of layered them to make it a little bigger, and honestly, I think it turned out really cute. This house is definitely giving, like, Pixie Hollow, Polly Pocket kind of vibes for some reason, or, like, Barbie vibes. And at this point, this is where I realized that I definitely forgot the bathroom and was trying to figure out how to make it up in there. And I think it turned out okay. I just closed off the stairs. And this is where it kind of made it into a more of like a lofted bedroom, I guess, because it doesn't have like a door going into it. But it is still fairly closed off. And then again, I was just going through the catalog and looking at all the different items, trying to figure out what to do with it. And then I found these cute little curtains that I threw on there. And at some point, you'll see it, but I go absolutely overboard with these little, like, twig and flower lights that are down at the bottom there. Because, like, I wanted to try and put the whole tree in here, and it wasn't really working out. But then those little twig lights end up absolutely everywhere, and I think I probably did go a little bit overboard, but I think it still turned out really cute. And then even on the outside, I don't have the twig lights on the outside, but I definitely do have a ton of plants, which I love. And then I wanted to make this little spot, like a little reading nook. And I really liked this rug, but I struggle using it because it's like so directional. Like it has to go a very specific way. So it didn't really work in like the main part of the bedroom. I thought it was cute to have like a little dragon in the reading nook. Wow, I can't talk. In the reading nook. And then I used it by the front door as well. I know I used it in the same swatch. Don't hate me for that. But I thought it still looked cute and it had all the right colors. And then at this point, I started doing like the floor and the wallpaper. I definitely, whenever I'm doing a build, the floor and the wallpaper is always some of like the last stuff that I do, because I never know what I really want it to look like until I'm like doing this part. But I wanted to keep everything around the fireplace that like stone, and then it turned into the stone going into the kitchen as well, which I thought was kind of cute, because like in a normal house you would see like the tile in the kitchen or something like that. So I thought having the stone instead would be cute, and then I just brought the stone all the way up into that little hallway for the stairs by the bedroom, so it kind of looked like it just was one big stone like pillar. And then this is where you can see I start using those little twig and flower lights. And I think it looks really cute, but I definitely did use a ton of them. And then at this point, I like to, like, when I'm building something, I'll put in all of the, like, those little base game saucer lights, the little tiny ones. And then at a certain point, sometimes, depending on what build it is, I'll go back and I'll change out all the lights, or at least, like, move them around. I thought I was just going to use those twig lights in the kitchen, and then realized that they do not give off as much light as I thought. And then I tried to use the Realm of Magic one again, but it just wasn't giving the right vibes. And then I also realized that when I sized it down, it left these, like, big fuzzy balls of light that were just kind of hanging there in the kitchen, and I was like, that's not what I'm going for. So I switched it out for the little base game saucer, but I still did put some of the little twig and flower lights in there, and then I threw some more up the stairs, as well as the little chandelier like in the living room. And then I figured since I had the fireplace, I needed some sort of chimney. And I didn't even realize there's this cute little, like, spiky one in this pack. And it looked so cute. It added the perfect little vibes. And I was thinking about doing, like, the little plants on the roof thing. But didn't... Like, I liked the way that these shingles looked. So I just kept it on there. And then I ended up changing the roof on top of the sunroom to be just like a full little like plant area, and threw some of like the plants from this pack up there just to give it like a little bit extra something a little different. But I was just kind of placing them around. I sized up that one bush. I thought about putting a tree up there, but it wasn't the vibes, and the tower needed to be like the tallest spot. And here's me again trying to use this tree somewhere. I ended up putting it outside, and then I don't think it stays there. But this is where I ended up changing the chairs in the dining room, because I ended up putting the stools up at the top so that I could put the little nature press up there. I thought it would be cute to have the little like flower press somewhere. I needed something for the balcony, so I just threw it up there. And then this is kind of where I start putting some of the plants on the outside. I didn't realize there were so many of the little like wall plants. So I just ended up throwing them everywhere, which I'm not mad about. I think it looks really cute, and I love the overgrown vibes. I was definitely going back and forth on the like color palette for it though, because some of the like the matching color swatches weren't the same on all of them. Like, I don't know how to describe it completely, but the ones that have the big leaves, when I put them on the one specific color swatch, it didn't fully line up with the ones that have like the wisteria on them. But I ended up saying that it was fine because the actual color that it turned into, that one, the red one, that's the matching swatch to the like plant that's up at the top, this one. But I figured it was fine because the oh my god, I can't talk. Sorry. The flowers that are on the one that's under the window is the same color as the red in the butterfly door, and I hadn't really put that together before, so I was like, that's why I didn't like it. But then I realized that it matched the door, and so I left it there, and then I added one that goes over like the front of it. And now as I'm recording this, I'm realizing I didn't put any columns right there in the front, which I definitely should have. But at this point I'm still doing the plants, but I wanted to put some of the like indoor plant stuff. I was gonna do a little bit more clutter in the kitchen, but none of it like with how this house looks, I'm not gonna put a thing of paper towels there. Like, it just looks weird, or like a knife block. It just wasn't the right vibes. So I opted out for that, and just put a couple more of the little like indoor plants. And then I added some more plants on the inside because this like area around the door was really bare. But I don't think it's weird to have plants inside because it's a fairy house and there are no rules. I don't know. So I added a ton of plants. I added another one out by the front door. And then I moved into the bedroom, and was trying to figure out what I was doing there. And I added some more of those little like flower twig lights that I apparently am obsessed with now. But I was just trying to clutter up the bedroom a little bit and add some more stuff in here. And then I realized that I didn't have like one of those little fairy houses somewhere. So you will see me add one of those in. And I even added some of those twig lights under the bed, or like in the canopy of the bed, which might be overkill, but I still think it looks really cute. And then I just added some stuff to the little like bedside table, and I finally figured out where to put the tree. Yay. But I think it works there. And then I moved into the bathroom. I wanted to use the little like mushroom shelves somewhere, but I didn't really know where. And I know it looks a little weird having the like full wood toilet and stuff in the bathroom on the inside. But I still thought it was cute. And then that's where I added the little fairy houses. I did add both of them, which you probably don't need more than one. But I thought it was still cute. And then I added one of the like plants from this pack to the front porch so that there was something there. And this is where I was kind of looking through the lights, which, to be completely honest, this build doesn't look the best in any other lighting besides like the morning and the night. Once you see the outside and what I did with it, it looks so amazing at night, not to toot my own horn. And then I found this little like wall thing with a bunch of plants in it. I was trying to figure out where to put it, but I ended up putting it in the bedroom next to the dresser, because it's really thick, and I was trying to put it somewhere, but then a sim wouldn't be able to walk past it. So I just put it in the bedroom. And then I was trying to figure out what to do with the landscaping. I thought I was going to be cool and use terrain manipulation, and put this little like pergola situation up on a little hill. That didn't turn out. I got to a certain point and realized it was floating. So we turned that back down, but I did add a little pond that you'll see here pretty soon. And you can't fully see it, but I added a little mushroom chandelier, into the, like the little pergola area. And then you can see I struggled for so long trying to figure out how to make a pond, because I had that little filter for Enchanted by Nature on there. So it wasn't showing any of these terrain manipulation tools. I had to look it up. I genuinely thought I was going insane because I couldn't figure out how to make a pond. And then I realized that I was just being really stupid. And then because you need a trash can, I put one in the back, and I realized I didn't have one inside, and figured that it would be fine because it was going to ruin the vibes if I put one on the inside. And then I started with the terrain paint, which I know probably isn't the best decision because it definitely does delete itself every once in a while. But I needed to see like the layout of what I was doing, and I initially wanted to do it with this stone, but then it was too harsh and I was trying to soften it up, and it just wasn't like working how I wanted it to. So you'll see that I just erased the whole thing, and I end up going over it with more of like a dirt path, which honestly I think works a lot better. I think it just fits the vibes more, which fits the vibe is I'm gonna say that so much, but I think it does work out. And then I added a little bit under the swings, and in this little like pergola area, which I think it's because it was on a hill, but it was giving me all sorts of issues trying to get the little like brush under there. But then I just made a little path over to the house, and kind of like roughed it up so it didn't look so uniform. And then this is where we get a little crazy because I started doing the landscaping, and I do definitely get a lot of my inspo of landscaping from watching Lil Simsy videos. So this like putting the low-lying flowers and then adding a bunch of plants, I definitely got that from her, because before this I honestly didn't really do much with my landscaping, but for this build I think it really works out doing it that way, because I was able to like line stuff with the bushes, and I even put it around the pond, and then just kind of was able to throw a bunch of other bushes into it, even some of like the new ones from this pack, to tie everything in. I did use some of the ferns as well, and then the main flowers that I have is the hydrangeas, because I thought all the colors worked really well. But again, it's just going through and adding a bunch of landscaping and sizing up and sizing down plants. I did do that left side, but you'll see in just a little bit, I definitely forgot about the plants from this pack and was like, oh my god, I want to use those. So I go back and I end up changing those and take out some of the flowers to throw in some of the new ones. But then I kind of just throw some more plants around, and I'll end up throwing more in the back and around the swing set. And I wanted to add some of this lavender just to add a little bit more color around the pond. I know that's probably not where you would find that, but I don't really care because it's a Sims build and I think it looks cute. But this is where I go back and I add the plants that are from this pack. Sorry, my brain has completely stopped. And then I added some more of like the big bushes over by the swing set and added a little tree so that it was more like shaded. I don't know. To me, it feels a little weird having a tree inside a tree. But I also thought it was cute. And thought it worked well for this one, so I just decided to keep it. And I like having the different heights for landscaping, so I kind of had to put the tree in there or else everything would have just been on the floor. And then I went back into the tree in the background that has all like the little fairy lights, and I think on the back of it even has like a little fairy door. But I just threw some plants around over there as well. And then threw some plants around the little pergola with the bench under it, which at that point, that's where I was like, oh, this thing is floating. I'm just going to take it off the hill. Maybe at some point I'll figure out how terrain manipulation works and do that, but honestly it really doesn't. Like, I'm good just sticking with little ponds. I'm not great at putting stuff on hills. But then I added some more flowers around this one, and some more of the stuff from this pack, even around the pond, because I really just wanted to like tie everything all together, and I really wanted to give it the super overgrown vibes. And then I just added a little bit more terrain paint, adding some, I mean, the paths don't even really go anywhere, but there's one like back towards the tree and then one back behind the swing set. And then I genuinely have no idea if this mailbox is even functional anymore, but I just added some plants around it as well. I don't know how close your sim has to get to it for it to be functional, or if they really even like have to get to it. But I still wanted it to be all covered in plants and stuff, so I threw that in there. And then this is kind of where I realized that the back was super flat, but I genuinely didn't really know what to do with it, so I just kind of threw some plants down here, as you do with everything, and then just kind of went from there. Ooh, that was my wrist cracking. But yeah, I just kind of filled it in with plants over back here, and then called it a day, because it probably could have used like another little bump out, but then it would have thrown off the floor plan. And I thought it needed another tree back here. So I just threw one in there, even though we're still on a tree. And then I moved it to nighttime and realized that it looked so much better at... Excuse that. That was my Bluetooth speaker. It just turned off. Sorry about that. But I was kind of just throwing some of those little fireflies around because I realized it looked really nice at night, and thought that having the fireflies would absolutely tie into the fairy vibes. And then I did put the swans in the pond, which might be a little weird because they're really big for that area. It looks a little weird when they're like in live mode, but I still think it looks really pretty. And then I kind of just threw these little like flower petal lights around, and I thought that the top of it needed more lights because it wasn't super lit up, but I was also trying to use like just the limited packs, so there wasn't really what I was looking for there. But anyways, that is the end of the build. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions of what I should build next, go ahead and leave it in the comments. But either way, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.